Hello, I am in front of the Florida Supreme Court building, the state's highest court located in Tallahassee, Florida. The Supreme Court was established in the year 1846, and this building was constructed in the year 1949. Follow me as we take a virtual tour of the Florida Supreme Court. Standing behind me is a model of Lady Justice. You can see that she is wearing a blindfold, which resembles that all cases are fair when they are brought to court. Justice is blind, which means that someone is not being judged for how they look, what religion they believe in, how old they are when their case comes to the courtroom. She is holding a sword in her right hand, which is taking care of the snakes, which symbolize the wrongdoings. And she is also holding the scales of justice, which resembles that both sides of the case are equal in the court of law. And next, I'm very excited to show you our courtroom. And this is the Florida Supreme Court's courtroom. We are open to the public and we can hold 164 people inside this courtroom. Cases are typically scheduled the first week out of each month, with the exception of January and July. Unlike trial courts where you would see elements such as one judge, a jury, a witness stand, this court operates much differently. All of our cases, since they've already been in at least one other court, are ruled by the 7 justices. Our cases are called oral arguments, in which the attorneys and justices communicate back and forth about the case. Since we do not have a jury or witnesses at this court, the 2 sides of the case are located here. So here on this side we have the petitioners. Attorneys for the petitioners are the side that is bringing the case to this court, and the side for the respondents sits on the right side of the podium. The attorneys have 20 minutes per side to argue here at the podium in front of the justices, and that time also includes their questions. After the cases, the justices meet in their conference room to discuss and make preliminary decisions on the cases that were just presented to them in the courtroom. A decision on a case is not made public until an order or written opinion is posted, which could take several months. The Florida Constitution states that this court must have 7 justices, at least 1 from each of the 5 district courts of appeal. There is not a minimum age requirement to be a justice in Florida, but they have to have been an attorney in Florida for at least 10 years. The justices serve 6-year terms, and they must retire on or before their 75th birthdays. The Chief Justice sits in the center on the bench, and that is a 2-year position. The closer that a justice sits to the chief, the more seniority they have on this court. The role of the Chief Justice is to manage the judicial branch of government in Florida. On the walls in this courtroom, you will see a portrait gallery which contains oil paintings of our former justices. You will see our very first African-American justice, Joseph Hatchett, who was appointed in 1975. Rosemary Burkett was our very first female justice. She was appointed in the year 1985. Our very first justice of Hispanic descent was Raul Quintero. He was appointed in 2002. Although we are the highest court in Florida, there are many other state courts. Most cases begin in one of the trial courts, the county and circuit courts. In these courts, you would see juries and witnesses. County courts handle cases that are less than $30,000, including small claims, landlord-tenant disputes, and minor crimes called misdemeanors. Circuit courts handle cases that are greater than $30,000 and include cases involving children, property, and serious crimes called felonies. Cases can then be appealed to one of the 5 district courts of appeal in our state, where they are then reviewed by a panel of 3 judges who determine if the case was handled properly in the trial courts. The district courts are where most cases stop unless the case is appealed to the Florida Supreme Court. But out of the 3 million cases brought to all state courts in Florida each year, about 2,500 make it to the state's highest court. Most of our cases fall into the discretionary category, and the justices vote whether or not they are accepted. Usually those cases are either certified by a district court because the case is of great public importance, or because there is a conflict among 2 district courts. Certain cases, such as the death penalty, public utility, constitutional questions, and bond validation, are automatically accepted by this court as required by the Florida Constitution. Cases can then be appealed to the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., the highest court in our nation, as long as the case is accepted by that court. The next stop we are going to visit is the Rotunda. Welcome to the Rotunda space in the court. This room is open to the public and is used for events, ceremonies, receptions, but is also used by attorneys when we have cases scheduled in the courtroom. They can meet in this area beforehand and after their cases are heard. In this room, we have 8 marble columns which support our dome in the ceiling, and also includes the Florida Supreme Court seal, which is made of white bronze. At the top, Sat Cito Si Recte is a Latin phrase that means soon enough if done correctly. And then we have 18 stars, which represents Estrella, who is the daughter of the goddess of justice. F represents Florida. Here is Lady Justice, as well as an eagle that represents freedom. And then speaking of eagles, we have 2 other eagles in this room. They're made of copper, and they also represent freedom. And then our next stop is going to be the Florida Supreme Court's library. Our library is Florida's oldest publicly supported library and exists to serve the needs of the Florida Supreme Court, the Office of the Court's Administrator, and Florida's lower courts. Our library contains more than 130,000 volumes of law books and is open to the public Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. The Florida Supreme Court Library also has a legal database that is available to the general public. You can come in and do your own legal research either online, or you can also use the print resources in the library.
Welcome to the Rare Book Room. I'm Eric Robinson, the archivist who takes care of this room, and I'd like to show you the oldest and the youngest of the rare books in our library's collection. And I should add that this library is the oldest publicly supported library in Florida. So our rare books are actually books that we bought in the 1800s, many of them, and we've just kept them all these years. We don't use them as much now as we did in the 1800s, but they're here for the justices to be able to go back and see what the laws were at one time. And because they can do that, they have the opportunity to have the fairest and best judgments because of this resource. Now, our oldest book is in Spanish. It's a Spanish law book published in 1597. It was used in the Spanish Empire, and Florida was part of the Spanish Empire. So once in a while, we do go back to this, and we do have people here on staff who can read this very old form of Spanish. And our youngest rare book goes back to only 1947, practically yesterday, right? Well, a long time ago, but not as old as 1597. And even our bookcases are historic now too. These are the bookcases that were bought for the court in 1913 when we moved out of the Capitol building and into our very first Supreme Court building. And we're still using them. As you look at these bookcases, you'll see all along this wall British and Commonwealth law books. And you'd wonder, why would we have something like that here? Well, it turns out that in the 1800s, there wasn't much law or many published opinions of our justices. So this set of law books was what was most used in Florida courts right into the beginning of the 20th century. Now, of course, we don't use them that much anymore because we've got plenty of laws now and plenty of opinions of justices. I want to thank you for stopping to have a look at the oldest books in our collection, and I hope you'll come and visit when we're able to have visitors.
And the last stop of our field trip today will be the Lawyer's Lounge. This room is an area for attorneys to wait before and after their oral arguments, but it also serves as a room for when the courtroom is at capacity. Folks can come in here and watch the cases live on our television. This room also holds our current justices' portraits that hang on the wall over here, and their portraits will remain on this wall until the justice leaves the court. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you back very soon.